my sewing friends. This is Friday Sews.
Woohoo!
I'm Jen and this is my sewing room and it's Friday Sews. So that means we talk about what we've been sewing, what's coming up, what we've been doing, what's on the table, and a little bit of life thrown in at the end. And for me, a little bit of Jesus. Okay, so let me say real quickly, click on the hashtag. You'll find all kinds of Friday Sewists. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and let's move on into the sewing because my goodness, I made up for lost time this past week. I was sick for 2 weeks and I did nothing. And then I got back in here and not just in here, but around my house. I got so much done. Okay, so let me start out with some UFOs that had been looking at me from over there on that table. They were in a pile and I just thought, okay, no, I can't deal with this anymore. Let's get these out here. So I picked up Simplicity 2245, which is a Lizette pattern. I'd made this a while ago. I received this from my BFF Trish and she'd made it and it was adorable on her. So I had made some changes to the pattern and the neckline I finished with a bias tape and it wasn't quite tight enough, I guess maybe is what you'd say. It just wanted to roll out and it didn't want to keep its shape. So what I did was I ran some elastic through it and I didn't tighten it very much, but just enough to where when I put it on, it made a big difference. So that is in the closet. Yes, done and dusted. Then I worked on New Look 6871 and I finished it. This pattern, okay, first let me say, New Look and I kind of go hot and cold. You know, they're simple patterns, but they don't always look good on me. And that's the case with this one. I used View E. This is a top, but I lengthened it into a dress. And it's cute, but two things. First of all, the style does not look good on me. This whole yoke rounded thing, rounded neckline with the yoke, it just does not flatter me. So that was a problem. The other problem was that I used fabrics that were not great. They're just not great fabrics, but they especially weren't great for this. So you can make this from a knit, and I think if you're going to, I would advise it. But the fabrics I used were 2 rayons. I used these 2 fabrics because I wanted this to be a wearable muslin so I could tell whether or not I wanted to make it out of fabric I really liked. Well, I don't think I'll be making it again. And it's really not got so much to do with the bad fabric that I used, but it's got to do with the style. So again, New Look and I go hot and cold. So this time it was cold. And then my daughter, McKenna, who is the mother of my just delightful grandson, Wesley, said Wesley needs to supplement his wardrobe, Graham, with some things that you could make for summer. And I said, okay. So I picked up Butterick 4898, a little kind of a compilation of a lot of things in this pattern for babies. He's 18 months old, so it went up easily to 18 months. T-shirt, shorts, and then there's this little kind of romper thing, I think commonly called John Johns. So, okay, so I went about making the shorts and the t-shirts. No, just no. Complete waste of fabric. I was using scraps and I was, for the pair of shorts that I used this pattern for, they were knit from a sweatshirt that I had made. This was beautiful fabric. It came from Beyond the Pink Door. Ruined, this fabric. Could not be salvaged. It was a shame. I mean, I was so disappointed because this pattern is, don't even bother with the shorts. I ended up going online and I found a shorts pattern from Little and Fig. And I went ahead and printed it and put it together and used it and it was perfect. I actually went over to Walmart and bought some like $3 knit shorts just to see if they were going to compare with these shorts, and they did. So anyway, I got the shorts done. I made 2 pairs of shorts and then I made 2 t-shirts, and I did use this pattern because it compared well enough with the Walmart t-shirts that I got for him. But I also downloaded the Do It Better Yourself t-shirt for kids, and next time I will use this because I've made their regular adult t-shirts before and really liked them. So I went ahead and did that. So then I went to make the John Johns. Okay, I used some plaid fabric that I had used 30 years ago to make little jumpers for all my girls. So I thought, oh, that'll be nice. I'll make these little John Johns out of that same fabric, and then he'll have something made out of the same stuff his mama had. Well, where is the lighter? Because these things turned out great, but they were so fiddly and so much more difficult than they needed to be. I thought, not doing this again. I will find a PDF before I do another Butterick babies pattern. I was so disappointed. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. She can pass it along, take it to Once Upon a Child, let somebody else have it. So I do not recommend this pattern. I will keep it until I go through my kid patterns and decide if I want to destash them. This will go. It will go because it was awful. Okay, so after that, I was ready for something easy. And I subscribe to a lot of people. Among them are Izzy from Dizzy Quilts and Sews and Nicki from Pintucks Sew. And I wanted to make a quilt square, a quilt block. And Izzy is doing a block about every 3 weeks. And she's going to make a crib quilt. So you can follow along and make the blocks. And then at the end, you'll have a baby size quilt. So I thought, okay, so she's, the first block she does is using half square triangles. So I learned how to do that, and I made a couple. And then I watched Nicki at Pintucks Sew, and she is all about like offsetting things, like wonky improv quilting. Well, I liked that a lot because I am very bad at all the precision. So I went ahead and took my half square triangles and I put them together in a block, but I did it all kinds of crazy ways. So let me show you the back. It's probably easier to see what I did, but I just sewed them like crazy quilting. So I made this block and I didn't use all the triangles, the half square triangles, but I have those. And so that's up on my design wall. And then I thought, okay, let's make one of these wonky courthouse square blocks. So I followed along with Nicki and what she was doing, and I made this. Whoops, it should go that way. This is courthouse steps. It's kind of like a log cabin pattern. So it's an actual quilt pattern and a block, but I didn't care about color. I just thought, I'm new at this. I don't know what I'm doing. So I have a bunch of scraps. I got them all out and I just started going at it. So this is what I came up with. And you can tell it's a little bit off, which is kind of fun. I love doing that. And then I thought, okay, let's get a little more serious about this color thing. Let's go light, dark, light, dark. So I did that here. I started out in the middle with light, and then I went dark, light, dark, light, and dark. And I'm happier with this than I am with that, but I think I have some ideas about a way to do either this like this or trying another kind of block with wonkiness, or just doing the traditional thing and using colors that I want specifically to use for quilts. So I have fabrics like that, so I'm excited. So this was so nice to do because it was such a palette cleanser. And by the time I got finished with that, I thought, okay, I think I'm ready to go with regard to making some more things. So I have some patterns that I wanted to make up, and one of them is Simplicity 4920. It's a vintage pattern, and I want to make the white one. Well, I had some quilting cotton that I thought was perfect, because the thing about this is that you really do need to use a ditzy print or some kind of a print that will read as a solid, or a solid, because of the princess lines and because of this little bow in the center. If you use a stripe, a plaid, a big pattern, it's going to break it up too much. And I do know enough about pattern and style that I thought, no, this really needs a small print or a solid. Well, I didn't want to use a solid. So I had this print, but when I got it, I had a 2-yard piece and then a 1-yard piece. So I have 3 yards, but the way this is laid out, it wasn't gonna work. So I decided I will go back to the drawing board and look and see what I have and do that another time. In the meantime, I took the pattern, I made some adjustments with some fit issues, and in the meantime, I have 2 sheets that I think might work. I have this one, which has little frogs on it, or fish, it's fish. And then I also have this, which actually I think I might use this because it's just a little flower. And I think it will work. So these are sheets. I know that there's enough fabric here. The thing about sheets though, is that they are one-way designs a lot of the time. Sometimes they're not, but this is, and so is this. So that will play into whether or not I have enough fabric, but I kind of think I will. So couldn't get that done or cut out, but this I really, really want to make. This is No Me 2076. It is a design by, I forget her name, Handmade Millennial. Oh, I forget her name. But I love this dress so much. And I want this fabric and I can't find it. I've looked all over to see if I could find it. Can't do it. So I thought I had fabric that would work and I don't have enough of it. Because this takes, for the longer dress VUB, this takes, for a size 14, it takes 4.5 yards of 45-inch fabric. Only 3 7/8, which is about 4, of 60-inch fabric. And it's because you cut all the pieces, you only cut one. So you open your fabric out, single layer, and you cut all of the pieces, but you only cut one of most of them. So yeah, I just didn't have enough fabric. And so I know I want a specific kind of fabric for this and I may have to buy it because I have looked and looked through my stash. And I mean, I could make it out of a couple of things, but they're not what I want. And if I'm gonna go to the trouble of making this dress, then I want it to be exactly what I want. So couldn't get that done. So I moved on. In that stack over there was New Look 6650. This is what my friend Carol calls the magic dress because apparently you never expect for it to look this good on you, but it does. So I had pulled out some knit that I have. It's like a snakeskin print. And I am not wild about snakes. I sure am not wild about wearing it on my body, but I'm kind of looking at it like, okay, well, maybe not. Maybe it's more like, you know, just a weirdo print. Yeah, I know it's a snake print, but okay. It's knit that I had enough of. So I thought, all right, well, I don't think this is gonna fit me like it's gonna fit Carol, like it does fit Carol. This knit does not have a huge amount of stretch. It does have some, you know, I think it's a crosswise stretch, but not much going lengthwise. New Look, hot and cold. Remember what I said? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. We'll see. It's got 3 pattern pieces. Is that right? No, it's got 4. It's got a front, a back, sleeve, and the tie. Can't be that hard. So I don't know, maybe I'll run that up on my serger and just see how I fare. The last thing I want to tell you about is something I did last night. I cut it out last night and I put it together because it truly does only have 3 pieces. It needs bias tape and the 3 pieces are the front, the back, and the ruffle. And there's something specific I want to tell you about this, something that honestly will make your life a whole lot easier. This is Butterick 5792. It's a nightgown. I made it from a very soft thrifted sheet. It's beautiful. It is so gorgeous. I did not wear it to bed last night because I had marked it up with chalk. There are pleats in the front. A lot of people would call these Pintucks. They're not Pintucks, true Pintucks. True Pintucks are like the width of a pin. Really, they're only about 1/8 of an inch wide, and you make them with a Pintuck foot. These are more like pleats, and they say that on the pattern. Here's the thing. Let me show you.
I'm going to show you an easy way to do tucks or pleats. So let me show you. Let me show you how I did this. Okay, here is my pattern piece, and you can see you've got 3 tucks here. Instead of doing what the pattern says, which is to make the tucks in the front, on outside bring the lines of the small circles together, stitch to lower small circle. Okay, so you're supposed to bring these together, and you mark this line and where the dots are, and then you bring the dots together like this, and you're trying to line up this line with that line and match up all these dots. Okay, well, you can do that, but you know what I did? I measured the width of the tuck, and it is, turn this around, it is 1 inch. Okay, so I know when I fold it together, I'm going to be sewing, this line is going to be at 1/2 inch. So why would I go to all this trouble to match up all these dots? Why can't I draw a line through the center of the tuck at 1/2 inch, which is the distance I would be stitching if I folded this in half and stitched along one of these lines? Okay, well, that's fine. Let's just line this up at 1/2 inch and draw a line. Draw one line. So I drew one line in the center of each of the tucks. And then when I went to my sewing machine, I knew that the distance between this and this was 1/2 inch, because we've got a 1 inch tuck. We divide it in half because that's the amount that we're going to fold together to stitch. You don't have to stitch on a line. You've got a line on your sewing machine. You've got a line at 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I folded it on that center line like this. And then I stitched 1/2 inch away from my center line. And oh, look at that. That's where this is. So all I had to do was mark the center of the tuck from the top to the bottom. So I knew where to stop, but I stitched it 1/2 inch seam allowance, and that formed my tuck. So much, so much easier. It saves all this marking, all this trouble, no matching dots together, no doing anything blind because you have no idea if you're hitting the dot or not. You're trying to fold it, you have no place to fold. Just fold on the one line and stitch it at whatever seam allowance it gives you. That's half this distance. Easy peasy.
So this should save you a lot of time depending on how wide your seam allowance will allow on your throat plate of your machine. Mine, I can probably get to 2 inches. So if I had a 4-inch pleat, then I could easily make a 2-inch, what ends up being a 2-inch pleat. So yeah, hopefully that'll save you some time. But this was the huge win. Very easy. Did it in an evening. It was fine. So that's all of the sewing. Let's move on to life. 2 things I want to tell you about life. First of all, I wake up in the morning and my house faces east, so it's usually sunny here in Florida. And when I wake up, the sun is coming through my front door windows and this window, and this door to my sewing room is usually open. And so I get all this light coming in, and I walk out and it is a sparkling jewel of a morning. That's the best way I can describe it. You know, like, you know, when I, or when you go to any body of water, really, the ocean, a lake, anything, and it's, you know, rippling as larger bodies of water do that. Sometimes if the sun is hitting it just right, or even if just the sun is hitting it at all, it looks like sparkling diamonds. That's how it feels when I walk out in the morning. Wow, what a pleasure. I'm always walking out and going, God, you did it again. Another sparkling jewel of a morning. Oh, and then you go outside and goodness gracious, it's hot. It is blazing hot here. The humidity is pretty fair, and we're starting to move into where it's it gets to rain. We have the daily pour, I call it. Sometimes it feels like a monsoon lasting for about 20 minutes, but usually it rains every day. So we're moving into that part of summer, but it's hot. I have not been out in it because I've been working in here, but oh, I love summertime. I love summertime, and especially June, because my birthday is in June. My number 3 daughter, her birthday is in June. I almost got her. Well, actually, I guess you could say I got a baby for my birthday one year. She's born on the 13th. I'm born on the 16th. My husband is born on the 29th. So, and Father's Day is thrown in there. So we have a lot of things going on in June, and I love June. It's just, I don't know, it's such a pretty month. It evokes brides and warm weather and lots of green and beautiful, sweet things. I love June. And so I'm going to move into a little bit of Jesus now. So if you are a person that kind of checks out, then that's kind of not for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. And if this is for you, let me share with you one of my little prayer cards. Shout with joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. From Psalm 100, verses 1 and 2. Psalm 100 is a wonderful psalm of praise. It makes me think of when I was in the 3rd grade. I was at a new school. I was the new kid. I was an introvert. This was not good. But this was the late 1960s. And so they would have the announcements every morning, and then they would end them with a scripture. You stood up, said the Pledge of Allegiance. They said, here's what's going on. And then they would have this little scripture. And I got selected to read the scripture for a day. And it was from Psalm 150. And I remember it was the same kind of psalm that this is. Shout with joy. Worship the Lord, all the earth. Worship him this way and this way and this way. And just, the whole idea was, God is amazing. Let's talk about how amazing he is. Tell him how amazing he is. That's what this says to me. I have had a lot of opportunity to do that lately, especially when I walk out and I see this sparkling jewel of a day beginning. And I think, oh, thank you, God. So I've also been listening to a worship leader that I have found kind of on repeat. Every morning I have songs in my head when I wake up. And so it's been a real pleasure to do that. And I will link a playlist down below of the worship leader that I'm talking about. In the meantime, that's it for now for Friday Sews. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you get some fun, productive sewing done this week, and I will see you next time. Thanks again for watching.